Hey guys, Deathscyp here from YCG, your casual gamer. In this episode we're going to learn how to make a simple death screen for our character. Now that we can walk on a bridge and the bridge can break on us, if you're not too careful we're going to break the bridge and fall to our death. You see the death screen and then it kicks you out of the game since we don't have any checkpoints yet inside our game. So stay tuned. Okay, so to get started, the best way I find to teach new blueprints is always to test them first using the level blueprint first. I know it's more primitive and it's not always the best way, as you always want to make smarter blueprints to get your workflow to get better. But for training purposes, let's go with the level blueprint. So the first thing we're going to need is a trigger volume. So trigger volume over here, and we're going to drag it inside the scene. You're going to understand later what I mean by that. And this is going to be what triggers our event. So we want the event to happen when the player falls to the ground. So let's get the dimensions we want. I think it was 2500, 2500, and 100 for the z-axis. Doesn't have to be that high. Just to have to make sure that it covers just above the water, to make sure that the player can actually fall. Because if it's underneath the water, then the player might never get the collisions overlapped with the trigger volume, because you have to overlap it. Now just get to the far end of your trigger volume, right click, and we're going to add an event on begin overlap. And as soon as you click on this, it's going to send you to the level blueprint. Another way to get there would be, if I lower this, I would go to blueprint, open level blueprint. We are working on our persistent level, and you're going to understand when we're going to start working with the next part, which is we're going to create checkpoints so that when you restart, the game is smart enough to know which part of the level you're in. And it's always better to communicate with the persistent level for that, because only the master level of your scene knows exactly all that is going to be traveled by your hero. Now right click and let's jump to the event that we just created, and let's start building our death. So just to get the show going, we're just going to create the program first, and then we're going to do the visual aspect behind it. So the first thing I like to do is always do a cast to the character, because when you're going to jump in the water, you want to make sure that it checks that first. So you do a cast to first person character over here. I already had one over here, so just delete it. Get player character and promote it to a variable. My character. There you go. Connect these together, and then we're going to do a check with the event over here with the other actor. We're going to do an equal and control drag the character into this, and then just have to branch it here. So what does that do? Like always, I know I'm repeating myself with this, but it's very crucial. You don't want, let's say you have falling rocks and you're seeing, and they're going to be overlapping with this event at the bottom, and it's going to trigger the death of the player. That wouldn't make sense. So you always want to have this check first that checks who's overlapping the event. In our case, if it's true that it's the character, then you carry on your program. So from here we're going to do a print string, just for test purposes. Death, you die, death, or whatever how you want to call it. I'll put it up for 5 seconds. So this is just a troubleshooting. It's going to appear at the top left of your screen if it works. Then from here you could add a sound, play sound. Nah, we're going to do the sound after. From here you can do quit game. So if it works, the game is going to quit. So it's going to kick you out of the game, so that way we know you're dead. And we can even do a disable input. That way your character can't move anymore. So get player controller. And you can drag the character, control drag him right back here. That way you know the player won't be able to move. And you want to leave the times so that your visual event pops up. So let's say we're going to have a blood splatter in the screen, red, and we're going to hear a sound. So what we can do here, we're going to add a delay of 2 seconds. Now let's test it out. So right now we don't have any visual behind it, so it's going to look a little bit cranky, but that's just to know that the program works, because basically this is it. That's your death screen. It works right there. You jump into the game. Let's go up here. Let's give ourselves a player start just so that we can always restart at the same place instead of always having to put the character in. Always make sure, for me, I'm playing with the level streaming, and if you're following my episodes, you're gonna have to make sure all the levels are initially loaded, just so you don't spawn in the emptiness of the level, and then press play. So I start over here, I go, I fall, boom, you see the death at the top left of the screen, and I couldn't move anymore, and after 2 seconds it kicked me out of the game. So we know that it works. It could have been an easy restart the level if you wanted to. We're going to do that later. Now let's create our program, or actually the visual behind it. So we're going to go here. If you've been following my episode, I'm going to add it inside my user interface, which I already did. The program's already there, but I'm going to create it on the side for those of you that are just coming in to learn the dev screen. That way, after that, we're going to plug everything together. So from here, do a widget blueprint, call it dev screen. And let's go inside, save everything. So, oh yeah, you're going to need to go in the description below. I have a few sounds that you can go get to do the dev. 3 sounds to be precise, that I just put together inside a mixer and a modulator. But since it's not a tutorial for this, you don't need to, you can just pause over here and go and do the sound on your own. You can grab all the 3 sounds over here inside the description below. It's a sound cue I created. And for the blood splatter, same thing over here. I went to go get a picture online, a place I really like to go, and I always like to promote it. It's called Pixel Bay. There's a bunch of free images you can get there. So when you're doing concept arts and all kinds of like visual effects, you can get a lot of stuff here. And basically all I did is I wrote ink splatter. So it's not even blood. I grabbed this one over here. I downloaded it from here. Choose the size you want, and then I sent it to Photoshop, and I just replaced the black with red, and that's what it looks like. So very simple way to do. If you don't have Photoshop, don't worry, this is going to be in the link description below where you can get it for free. Now let's follow along. We have our program that we started, so we go in the UMG, and I did the dev screen over here. Let's jump inside, and right now you have nothing in here. We're just going to add a border, and inside the border is allowed to have 1 child, so we're going to add an image to it. And from here we're going to go get our blood splatter that I did already over here. Compile and save. Put for here we're going to put this across the screen. We can also center the anchor. And then I think we're just going to set up a few things in the colors. For the brush color over here, I'm going to put it to a bright red and put this off. Same thing for the image. We're going to go in the actually no, we can just do all this from the border. We're going to grab the content color and grab this over here, the alpha, just put it to 0. That way it's not going to be officially to the screen right away. You want it to appear gradually, like in animation. Next, you're going to need the text. We're going to bring this inside the canvas, grab the text, and send it to the middle. We're going to make it fairly big, size 64. Maybe get it a bit, if I can select it, maybe a bit wider. Center it to the middle. Same thing over here, you can put the anchor point to the middle. And we're going to do a "you died" event, and then just have to put it in the middle. Same thing for the opacity over here. We're going to put the alpha to 0, and you're ready to create your animation. So now the border, I want the image to become all red, and then the blood splatter is going to show, and then the text is going to appear and say "you died," and then game over, or whatever, restart the level. So we're going to create a new animation, call it dev screen. And from here, we can do from the track, make our animation, or the easy way I find is that on 0, we're going to create a mark over here. It's going to appear over here for the content, this is what we changed first. Then we changed the brush color, and also for the text, we also played with the content and opacity. And this is gonna have add a key where we can start animating from. And since we're just playing with the opacity, it's pretty simple. I want it to take 0.5 seconds. I'm gonna jump to 0.5 seconds, and then I can just set from here, add a key for the that I think this is the color of the blood. I want to put this to 100, so I want it to be, or maybe less, maybe like that. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the brush color. This is going to be for the background of our border over here. I'm going to put this a little bit higher. Then you can see that everything becomes green, red. And then for the color opacity for the text, same thing for the alpha. Add another one over here, put this to 1, and you got yourself a done deal. Now if you wanted to make the text a little bigger, maybe it just pops to your face like you died, like just to put the accent on it, what you could do is we're going to play with the size too. We're going to go inside, going lower, and we're going to go into transform, make a key for the scale over here, add 0, 0, then jump to 0.5 and make another key for the scale, and then you can just play with the scale over here. Let's say I want to put it 2 and 2, and there you have it. Now if I go ahead and play back the animation, just have to click here and play it. There you go. Oh, I think it's going backward. There you go. This is what's going to happen. So now you already have your death screen ready. We're going to need to go inside the graph and make a call event. So we're going to do a custom event, call it death screen, I guess. No, it already exists. Let's just call it death. There you go. And from here we're going to do the image. We need the animation. We're going to control drag it here, play animation. Setting standards are good, and I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. And now we're going to go back to our little program over here, and instead of this over here, the print string, we're going to need to add the visual effect. So we're going to add the sound effect too. We're going to do play sound 2D, and let's go get our def. I don't know why it's not getting it. Okay, it's no worries. My def is over here. Def Q, and just add it over here. I just clicked the little arrow while I was selected on it over here. And then we can just create widget and get the def screen, and then we're going to have to call the def, call function def. And that is it. And what I wanted to show you before is instead of quitting the game this time, we're just going to reopen the level we're in. That way it's going to restart the level we're in right now. And to get that, I did open level, and I'm going to go get the level that we have. We just have to make sure to have the right name. Mine's called stage 2 master. Get that here, compile and save, and you're done. This is your def function. Let's go ahead and try it. Press play. So I'm inside the game. I jumped down, or I died, and it didn't work. Let's see what happened. Oh, silly mistake. Over here, I'm going to keep that. You always have to be aware. Right now I created the widget. When you create the widget, you call the event. That's not enough because everything happens in the background. You need to add it to the viewport, which is where you're going to be visually seeing it. Because you heard the sound effect, everything worked, and the game restarted, but we didn't see the animation because we never added it to the viewport. Viewport being, like you can see over here, that's our viewport. So if I don't add it to this, how am I supposed to see it? So there you go. Now everything should work perfect. There you go. So this is a perfect like easy dev screen. And again, what I was saying before is that you can always make it more complicated. I mean, it doesn't mean it's more complicated, but it's more smart. Because right now, the way we made it, if you go and work in another level and you want to recreate this logic, you're going to have to go back here, copy the logic that we have over here, and then copy and paste all the time inside all the levels, which isn't the smart way to do it. The best way to do it would be to create one blueprint that I did over here, just to show you what it is. An actor blueprint, put inside a box collision, then cast the character, do the same little math that we just did over here, other actor, check who it is, to get inside the UI reference, because right now I would have created it inside my user interface. Call the death screen, play the sound, disable input, and then restart the level. Also, you could have your own logic inside your blueprint that could go maybe with an event dispatcher, would send the information to the persistent level, where you could check with a checkpoint system where you're at in the level. Of course, the checkpoints, we're going to do it in another separate episode, but that's basically the idea behind it. Now, for those of you that was wondering maybe how did I do it with the user interface, it's pretty much plug and play. I did the same exact thing. I got the death screen over here. I did the program inside over here with the same measures that we did with our separate death screen that we created together. The difference here is with the user interface is in our last season we made also a camera shake. So I hope you enjoyed this. And the next episode, we're going to start working with the checkpoint system. So I'll see you then. Take care.